And what better way to keep the ball rolling about the core team even more than getting one of them on stage?
Yeah, please welcome. And please don't forget to send in your questions in the app during the talk so we can ask them later. Please welcome Sebastian Helzle.
Welcome to my talk about the Neos 9 UX journey. I'm so happy that Robert talked about the editor experience because I have so many awesome things to show you. I'm so excited, and I had a problem. I had far too many slides because there were just too many good things. So that was my main work in the last days to make that handleable. I don't need to introduce myself anymore, so we can already skip that. Some weeks ago, Apple had their 50th anniversary, and most of the stuff is not so important, but there's this one quote that stuck in my head. It came up in a podcast I listened to, and it stuck in my head when I was in the forest walking with my dog, and it's as follows. You've got to start with the customer experience and work backwards to the technology. You can't start with the technology and try to figure out where you're going to try and sell it. We're not selling our open source technology as a core team, for example, but you as an agency. But I think most open source projects have a difficulty with this quote, because often we are driven by technology. It's for us this little Lego set that we just got, and we want to build something with it and then show it off. But the other side might not really understand what we built there because it's just random blocks stuck together. And we want to have this. We want to show why we are fascinated by this technology, but it's actually not important to our customer at the end. They just want to have a useful tool and want to get their job done, and that should be our focus. And then if we have awesome technology for that, then it's fine to use that. But I think I will print this out and put it above my screen because I think it's just important for our work. So what I will talk about, what you wished for in 2025. There was outside this board with the many notes where you could write down what you wish for Neos. The UX changes we did in Neos 9 and 8.4. The journey to Neos 9.1 and beyond. What we want to ship with Neos 9.2. My goals for Neos 9.3 and beyond. And how you can help. And some additional thoughts for the topic. And some time for questions. So, what did you wish for in 2025? Here, we had this. I just noticed that all my animations don't work. OK. So this was the board from last year, and I highlighted all the ones where I think it has something to do with the user and not the developers. So it's mostly about accessibility, search, drag and drop, inline editing, asset editing, validation, review, preview, workspaces, and dimensions. So I would say like 2/3 are about the user, and then there's some developer experience and some API stuff and AI and so on, of course. But it's mostly about that, which means it's somehow important if all of you made so many notes about that. That meant we also worked on that stuff. Neos was actually shipped before last year's NeosCon, but we still already shipped some stuff there. For example, you know that the user menu was always on the top right next to the publish dropdown. Removed it from there because it's like a secondary function. You only use it once to set up your language maybe, and then you use it maybe to log out. But that's it. You don't have anything to do with that menu. We don't really need it up there. We can use this space for something else. We can reduce the clutter and moved it to the sidebar where we can also in the future add more functionality there, but it's a bit hidden. But that's OK. I know that some users are searching for it, but I think that's OK. Quickly go back to editing from modules. On every website, I would say, you can click on the logo and you can go to the homepage. This was always missing in Neos up until Neos 8.4 and 9.0, and I hated it because I clicked this logo so many times and I didn't go anywhere. So a small few lines of code change made it possible that when in your backend module and you click on the logo, you go back to the content module or your starting module, and you can work there. You don't have to do the drop down and search and so on. Property scopes. Really cool feature that was also available already via plugins before Neos 9, but it's now a core feature. Imagine you have a YouTube ID, or you have some price, or you have a date that is not really translated through different dimensions. It's always the same value. It should stay the same value, and editors simply forgot to change the value. For example, if you have a website and you want to sell tickets on top of it, and you want to show how many tickets you already sold, and then you only update it in English, in German is a different number. That's a problem. For example, on Neos.io. Until you use enable the property scopes, and then this number will automatically update whenever you edit it in English. So that's a really cool feature that should help. We will come back to that feature later. Publish dependencies. In Neos 8, you could publish something without a parent node. That leaves little orphans. Orphans are sad. Neos 9 doesn't allow that. Neos 9 asks you, hey, you also need some parents for that node. Please publish it or cancel what you're doing. You have to decide for one. New icons. What software, good software, can't ship without new icons? Every iOS release has new icons, so we also have new icons. It's often hard to find the right icon for your content element, whatever, but having more icons is still better. And remember, you can also use your custom icons since a while, but generating custom icons or having someone make custom icons does also work, doesn't always work. So it's always good to have more icons. Backend user filtering and sorting. I have customers with 200 users. It's hard to find out, should they actually all be administrators? Filter by administrator, find out, should they all be that, or when did they log in? Better filtering, better sorting, more features to find out if this user list is actually correct, and just the users there. Then something great. Semantics are important. Usually, the two or multi-column elements had a column called column 0, column 1, column 2. It's super semantical. Since with amazing new technology, we were able to now give them proper names, where you would define the content collection and define the column. You can say how it is called. You can also localize it. And the fun fact about that feature is that Dominique started that in 2016. It only took 9 years for that feature to be in the core. And such a long discussion. You wouldn't believe how much you can discuss about this feature. A nice community contribution, also the tree collapse button. If you have a big page tree and you lose lose where you are and you want to restart basically and again traverse through the tree, you have a little icon where you can just collapse it again. A new dimensions dropdown, which was actually also on the wish list. It's currently only working in 8.4. There's a little missing implementation in 9, which is which hides this display, but we will also solve that. It gives you a better view if the page you are on is already translated or if it's using a fallback and so on. I wouldn't say this is the final UX or how it should be yet, but it's an improvement. It's much better. It gives you a hint on what's going on, and we will further work on that and also bring it to Neos 9. A resizable inspector. The sidebar, the left sidebar with the trees was already resizable for a long time. That worked. And now the right side inspector is also resizable. You can move it at this few pixels down there because the browser doesn't easily let you override the icon. You can move it down there if you have good eyes and a good cursor skill, and make it bigger. In the future, we also want to store that size, but that's a bit difficult. If you're up to a challenge, you can also try to do that. So that was what we already shipped last year. How did we then come to Neos 9.1? So what happened last year? In April, we had the Neos sprint. We finished Neos 9. We shipped it, and then we decided, OK, what's next? And it was clear. We discussed it. We want to focus on the user, on the editor. So we said we will invest most of the money we have available for a few projects that should really push that effort. In June, we had the NeosCon, and you asked for more UX. In July, we had a rough overview how much money we have available. So we granted the budget for those improved projects and also made what should be in there and so on. And then in October, we released Neos 8.4, which already had some backported improvements of that. which you saw just now. In December 2025, we released Neos 9.1 with the new inline editing experience and link editor, etc. And 1.5 months ago, we had a media sprint, which also will come up later again, because it also affects the user experience. What did we want to achieve with all of that? We want to stop distracting users. If they want to work on something, they shouldn't be like, we shouldn't want to wave to them from the user interface with something else and distract them from their work. We want to keep the focus on the context, what they're currently working on. If they work on the text, they should be able just to look at this text and have all the tools around it. When you have a workbench at home, you put the tools next to you, ideally, depending on your way of working. But that should be the proper way of working. You have the things, the tools you need close to you, and then you are much more efficient. Or you run around in your workspace to find everything, which I sometimes do. You want to prevent accidental mistakes. One click in the wrong spot shouldn't make you lose your progress. The learning curve should be reduced. I think we are fine with having a learning curve. I think that's okay if you have a professional tool where you will spend a lot of time working with it. It doesn't need to be super, 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 super simple, but we can still reduce the learning curve and have a great initial experience, and the advanced features can still take some time to get used to. Let users be productive, which is basically what the 4 bullets before say. Don't distract, let them focus, have the features at hand that you need. And what did we ship with Neos 9.1 then? The new inline editing toolbar, that was so much work. First, we needed to upgrade CK Editor by about 30 versions, which was painful, but it worked. And what we wanted to do there is, you know that this formatting toolbar was in the secondary toolbar at the top of Neos, always. There was this one spot where you would find it, which has its advantage, but it was always travel. When you look at somebody working with Neos, they always had to go up and down with the cursor, and here and there. And this is what I meant. You want your tools next to where you are working on. So we moved the toolbar there, and it's now a native CK Editor toolbar. And it's not a Neos toolbar anymore, which means we're now really into the CK Editor ecosystem. We just style what they provide, and we have as little Neos code as possible. That also allows us to use all their plugins. And when you read the CK Editor documentation or find a cool plugin, you can now probably use it. Sometimes we're missing small things, but that's easy to fix. We already tried it with a few plugins. Also, upgrading the plugins from the old style to the new style is not hard. And at the end, you have less code. We really deleted a lot of code during that upgrade also. And a new inline table editor, which is actually not new. We always had it. It had this awesome Neos wrapper around it, which broke at least twice a year. It simply didn't work anymore. We had so many issues on GitHub with this table editor. And now this is gone because we just use the one that's provided. So it's also updating. We don't have to adjust anything. We don't have to override anything. It also has some additional features already that you can edit the table caption and stuff like that. It's so much better. Yeah, exactly. Custom style selector. Because when we did the upgrade, I browsed through the CK Editor documentation and looked, oh, this is nice, this I want to have. And this was also one of the things. And then I just needed to enable it. I didn't need to write any additional code, except to map what you want now in your project. You maybe use Tech Division CK styles or a custom plugin to allow the editor to make some custom styling in the inline text. And now we have this core feature that you can, in your node type formatting definition, say what kind of styles you want or CSS classes, and then this style editor will provide you the previews, and the editor can select them. So this is now in the core and should, I guess, cover most use cases. The context menu, we ran a bit out of space above the node, the selected node, because we now had the formatting there, and then this right toolbar, and we're still having some problems there, but something had to go. So we moved those more dangerous and secondary features to a dropdown, also now with labels, which should make it a bit more accessible. So hide, copy, etc. needs an additional click. But at the same time, we also got rid of some clicks because we added the duplicate feature, which was also a community request. So you don't have to copy-paste anymore. You can duplicate, get the same node. A lot of people do that. That should help and reduce some clicks. the positional aware smart insert content button. When you move your cursor, it will now move the plus button or the insert button. Why? Because the creation dialog, until now, when you clicked plus, it didn't know what you want to do because we only had one button. So it always asked you, where do you want to add it? And many people pressed the wrong button or ignored the position and just clicked OK. Afterwards, they realized it was in the wrong position, so they had to move or cut and paste their content element. So this is not necessary anymore, because at least in the content, because when you press the plus button, and it will already know what you want to do, you can skip this first part. And I will also come to that later, because I have this epic plan for the creation dialog. A new link editor, that was easy, right, Mark? So the idea was we simply integrate the Zeitgeist Archaeopteryx plugin into the Neos core. Sounds so easy. But at the end, the first integration, iterations, then we realized we don't need those features, we want them differently, and then we went through, I don't know, 5 layouts. So I think it's now mostly a complete rewrite of the whole thing, and it took many weeks, but I think the end result is so much better. It will also in the future be much more extendable, already has some additional features, but the link editor in Neos 9.1 is really a big improvement to the old one. Drag and drop for content. See, I don't really have to say anything. You can drag and drop content. That was also on the wish list. It's there, it works. It's great. And here also, it was important for me that it tells you somehow what you're doing. So it tries to read what is the name of the spot you're moving it to, and what actually you're doing. This is something we should also always focus on with features, that we tell the user what's actually going on. The content breadcrumb. Thank you. We got some space because the secondary toolbar was now mostly empty. We first tried to remove it, but Neos didn't look like Neos anymore with this bar. That was really weird. I decided, no, this is not possible, because we also needed to move those buttons on the right to the primary toolbar, which also looked cluttered again. So we thought, what can we do with it? And one problem you might have noticed in Neos, when you have an element in a container, and the element has the same size of the container, you will never be able to click on the container, because the element is in front of it. And that's why we tried the breadcrumb, and it will allow you to click basically on the parent of the selected node. So this way you can traverse up into in the content tree. For me, it's helpful. I like it. I hope your editors too. The improved full screen mode. I don't know. Who uses the full screen mode? Yeah, that's what I thought. I also noticed just while developing, oh, we still have that. What can we do with it? Because it's not very useful. You cannot really write a blog post in the full screen mode. And now it should be possible, because we added a breadcrumb, so you can traverse actually to the nodes. And we allowed you to open up the inspectors, that you can even edit an image in the full screen mode or other properties. It's amazing. I really want to make this better, because we have to decide either we remove it or we make it really cool. I would prefer to make it cool. There's more to do, but now it's better. The content recovery module. You deleted some content, you realized that was not a good idea, and you don't know where to get it back. And now we have this called trash bin feature, where probably you will find it again and can bring it back, even in the live workspace. Currently under certain conditions, but this will also be improved with 9.2, so you have some time to bring back your content again. New inline image editing capabilities. I say capabilities because it's not a core feature yet, but we added everything that you need. And I created a prototype where you can actually drag and drop images into the text. And that worked, but there are some difficulties with the media asset storage and creating URLs and responsive images and stuff. But Mark created a plugin, Package Factory CK Inline Images, which allows you to add an image inline and then choose from the media library. So there's not so much left to make this into a great core feature, but it takes some work. I would really like to have that. There's some examples you can work on. Yeah, would be awesome to get some help there. What June and Neos 9.2 will bring? A lot of things, because Neos 9.2 is not so far away. Preview mode indicators, that was also on the wish list. we have so many Slack questions where somebody says, I cannot edit content anymore. We even had one Neos update that forced you into a preview mode. That was really mean. And now you have an indicator up there that tells you twice you are actually in the preview mode. You cannot edit, but you might be able to click up there and go back to editing. That should make your life easier. Property scope indicators. Remember the feature from before, and remember the quote from the beginning by Steve Jobs. We added the technology, but we didn't tell the user. And now we're telling the user, at least with an icon down there, that this property is special. And when you click on those little arrows, you get some hint about what's going on. This is not final. I just wanted to have it. So, because I use it now a lot in all Neos 9 projects, and it's really hard when you don't know that the property has some special functionality. Workspace drop-down position. Whenever you watch editors, you know they struggle with the publish drop-down because they don't know how to change flip workspaces, change workspaces. And this is a problem because it leads to people not using workspaces. I have customers and they rarely use workspaces, then I tell them again, then they use it for some weeks and then they stop again because it's really not so intuitive from the content module to go there and use it, but it's one of our greatest features. And so this is almost done. There's just a few tests failing now with the workspace module dropdown next to the publish dropdown. We also have to decide a bit about how we do the labels. Then you have it next to the publish dropdown and should make it easier to see where are you and also motivate you to use the workspaces, the different ones. Was also on the list. Radical performance improvements for any workspace-related actions. That's still a problem up until Neos 9.1, but Neos 9.2 should fix that because Mark came with his rocket and worked the last weeks. I don't know how many hours and days on those issues, and he says he's fixed it. I'm really looking forward to that, to have a really fast backend, and that's one of the greatest usability features. I think when the system is fast and responsive and you click on something and something happens, that's such a good user experience. And it will also then make the user be fine if some other things are not so good, at least if it's fast. Node variant selector. You saw the dimension dropdown for 8.4 before. Recently, I updated this existing plugin, Flowpack plugin we have for the same dropdown, but for content elements, to have this new styling and also work with Neos 9. And here, in addition to the background and the style, I also added some hints about what's going on. I think occupied and shine through are not super great yet as a label for the editor, but this is a work in progress, and I don't want this in the core, but I want your help to find the version that can go into the core and be the great solution for editors that they understand. Here, I see that my content is translated or not, how it works, and I can also switch to my other content version via this menu. So I would love to have somebody who knows about UX to help there. Batch editing for assets, yay, that was also on the list. And I wanted to release it this last weekend, but the last minute bug that takes more than a minute to fix kept me from it, but there's a release candidate. Some nice contributors implemented that at the media sprint in Switzerland 6 weeks ago. It's a really cool feature. You can select multiple assets, you can change the copyright for all of them, you can tag them, delete them, whatever. And soon you will also be able to do more with that. And I hope to release it next week. We'll see. My goals. This sentence I edited multiple times. I decided for my UX goals for 9.3 and beyond, because I will need your help, or we need your help. Let's look again at the wish list. We checked some stuff. We got some stuff done, like 7 check marks, I think. And then there are some hammers, which is something I know that somebody's working on, or there are some, and for some there are also community solutions already. But I would wish that we get twice as much done, like 2/3 should be done. That would be my hope for Neos 9.3. That would be really cool. One of those things, not on this board, but I think in general we have a problem with secondary inspectors. When you choose an image from the media library, you have the problem that you can at the same time also publish and do other things. You can also go to different pages. That doesn't make so much sense because you're about to select an image, or you can edit an image or edit metadata. So during the media sprint in Switzerland, we realized we had several drafts of this editor for custom asset metadata, which is also a community wish for, since many years. And we now have a working prototype and everything is set up. But the editing is still a bit of a problem, how we integrate that into the user interface. So the first versions were really bad, and I was sad. But then somebody provided some mocks how a secondary inspector could work. I'm not sure how well it is to see on this with the screen, but it's basically an overlay over the Neos content module. So, and I like what we do there because it could also work for other data editors. You still know where you are. You are in the Neos content module, but it doesn't allow you to do anything else. You should focus on the image. I also don't say this is now the final view how it will look, because I think there's too much space for the image and there should be more space for the editing. But you have one job here, you can edit your stuff, you can select your stuff, and then you can decide to cancel or apply or discard or whatever. And then you're done with that job and it's over. And we shouldn't, I think this is much better than using this center area where we then show the different inspector. I really would like to go into this direction and work more on that concept. The smart node creation pop-up, which we basically stole from WordPress while we did the new inline editing, but they also stole it probably from somewhere else. Doesn't mean it's open source. Because I don't want the creation dialog. I don't like it. I think it has its usages, especially when you work with validators, but most of the time I added it and then I removed it again from the node types because it's just step. We say we have what you see is what you get, but the creation dialog is not what you see is what you get because we present a form. That's not how we want to have content. It should only be used when you really need some information from the user to make decisions. For example, when you work with Flowpack node templates, based on the decisions the user makes in the creation dialog, you can, for example, create content already for them or preset some fields. That's a good use case, but not for a simple text element. So we already got rid of the position question for the creation dialog before. And now with this pop-up, we can also get rid of the decision of what you want to create, because I think with a algorithm or something, we can show the most probable node types we can use in that spot, because there shouldn't be too many to choose from on the first hand. And then you click on the plus, Neos knows where you want to add it, then Neos can show you what you might want to add there, and then you click on the node type, and then you're done. And the node creation dialog doesn't even open, it doesn't distract you. You can immediately, the focus should be on the first editable, for example, and then you can immediately start working on this new node. That's something I want to, Mark and me have lots of plans for that. Somebody has to start working on it. I want to have that. What's on my to-do list? Also something from the wish list, a core backend module component library. Everybody builds their own backend modules with custom styling, with custom issues and custom bugs. If we provide a proper library also for our own modules like the workspace UI and soon the configuration module and so on, then we can provide a better user experience, accessibility improvements, because if we improve something in the core, it will affect all modules, and we will try not to break them. And the developer experience is also better because you can just choose from our library, put together your module, and then that's much better. Improvements I would prioritize. Better validation in inspect and creation dialog. I don't like validation because it's like I put my bike somewhere and then some old person comes and says, you cannot put your bike there. But I want them to be a friendly policeman or something, or police person that should help you. Oh, just put it there, it's okay, it's no problem. Because validation is necessary for some things. But in many cases, I think you can instead of forcing the user to add the proper value, even if they don't know yet what their value should be, because they actually wanted to add an image, but now they're forced to think about a monetary value or something like that. We don't want to complain to the user. We should lead them to the correct solution. As little as possible validation, and then make it in a nice way and help them and give a proper feedback what they should do there, so it's easy to solve for them. Better review diffs. I think everybody wants that, to when you publish content, that you easily see what's actually the change that will result. That can be a preview, that can be a side-by-side view, that can be not necessarily a Git-style view, because that's often confusing, but a really good view on what's going on. Better document and content search, that when you look for content, you want to go to a certain page, because sometimes also it's hard to understand that the URL, how a URL, for example, like somebody tells you this URL is broken, and then you have to find it in the backend. But with a bigger page, that can also be quite difficult. There are some plugins who can do a bit of that. There are some, I know that people implement it. There are custom solutions for that, but I think that should be in the core, that we have a good unified search box that allows you to go anywhere you want. Improved expired session handling in the UI. I work a lot on Neos.io. The session expires after 1 hour, and we have a basic authentication. It doesn't work. Every time my backend is broken after 1 hour of not using it. And my personal goal is also to fix that, because I want to be able to come back to the Neos backend and have a friendly, warm welcome, and not blinking error messages. So that's something we have to fix. I'm sure other people also want to have that fixed. Make customers and agencies want to update. We want to deliver the best user experience so far, because they will still edit content, even if it's a machine that prepared the content. Somebody will still look over it, check if it's correct, has to publish it, has to verify it, has to adjust it. Make people proud to show Neos capabilities. I'm proud to show Neos capabilities. I like showing it to people because it's great, it's fun. I love this work. Simplify updates. That speaks for itself. Peak performance in backend and frontend. I don't want to wait for something that, in my view, should be fast, even if I understand that technically it needs some time. And have a great dev experience, of course. How you can become part of this journey. Yes, you can. Buy long-term supporter badges. More money, less problems. Feature funding and development support. This is actually something I would like to have, because for me and the others, it's easier to implement a feature when we have somebody who is also interested in the outcome, who gives feedback, who provides testing, who has customers who might be interested in testing it. That's always the best, because then we can get real user feedback. Because if you build it yourself and then you click around in it, that's not such a good result, I would say, at the end. Contributions, concept, design, code, no matter. I'm always happy it's just somebody comes to the UX channel in Slack and says, hey, this is nice, gives a little heart, or gives feedback. Can be anything. Tell us about your users' difficulties. I often ask the agencies, please send me a list with your users' problems. I'm interested in that. But there isn't so much to get there. I know that they know about their users' problems, and users have problems with communicating their problems to describe them, and then also deciding what is the source of the problem, not what is the problem in that moment, like an error screen, but where does it come from? What did they actually want to do? Tell us about your vision. What should Neos 10, 11, 12, 13 be? I want to stand again up here and talk to you about Neos 13. That's something I would really like to do. Some additional thoughts. Use the features you build for real. When you create a content element, please also use it. Go to the Neos website, add it a few times, fill in with actual data what's in there, and see, is it fun or not? Other interfaces are also not perfect. When I did this inline editing change, I was so frustrated sometimes and thought, we're so bad at what we're doing. The others are so much better. Then I registered for several other content management systems. I clicked around, I tried their editing, and I realized, no, they didn't solve that. They have workarounds, they hide some stuff, they also have lots of bugs, and they're also not perfect. They have other good ideas, we took some of them, and then we added our own good ideas, and we came up with something that works really good. It's not perfect, and that's okay. Agentic coding. Of course, I needed one AI slide. I thought about this in the last months, because for me, it's also in the last months is a big change where I really am able now to productively use it, and I feel it's enriching my work instead of, I feel my results are now better by using it. And this just started some weeks ago or a few months ago. And one thing was that there was some tasks which are time-consuming and annoying. I didn't want to do them, and they were not requiring my brain or my knowledge. They were just tedious. So I let Claude do them, and I focused this time that I won, this 4 hours or 5 hours of work I would have usually put in there. I used that to create a better user experience, to think about how I can use this data that Claude had to transform, for example, and deliver it to the customer in a way that they barely have any work with it. Fix bugs on the way, do data mapping in a way that solves all the little problems they had in the previous system and stuff like that. And use the stuff we built and to see if there are any problems. And the final result was much better this way. And I gained several hours of time. I could focus on other things. And for example, if you have a task and you say 4 hours with AI, use 2 hours for improving what you're actually delivering, and then give the 2 hours of save time to your customer that they see, oh, now it's much cheaper to get new features. Please, one applause for all the contributors. It was a lot of people who helped with all of these features. And all the supporters who organized sprints, who gave funding and so on. Without that, it wouldn't be possible. It were funded projects, some were contributions and so on. All of that wouldn't work without your help. Thank you. Talk to me in the next days about all this stuff, or to the other core team members, or join us on Slack. Talk to us. And now I'm ready for some questions if you have them.
Wow.
A sign of a great talk is no questions, but some remarks. Someone gave a suggestion that maybe regarding the improved full screen mode, a pop-up like sidebar of the inspector could be cool, that you can minimize so it's like full screen, but also a little bit more editable, which I thought was a cute idea. And then, this is lovely, I love this questions feature. Someone says, anonymously, if you want things not to be anonymous, just throw your name in there. Someone says, I have no question, but want to give you a hug and thank you for all the hard work that you do to make NEOS better.
Aww.
And I think we all agree.
For the first remark regarding the inspector, I actually had a slide for that with this little inspector inside the content.
Nobody here is surprised.
But it was not done yet, and I had to cut some stuff, but there is a slide for that.
Great. Thank you so much, Seb.
Yep, thank you.
Noel.
Yeah, this app feature is really cool. It feels a little bit less like we're yelling into the void and more like there's people that have input. Somebody said hi to my dog, which I love. Somebody quoted Taylor Swift at me, which I also love. There was some lorem ipsums, there was tests done, and talking about tests of the app, I think we might have just discovered a little bug.
Yeah, what I liked a lot about Sebastian's talk now is that he is taking care of so many little UX details. And one detail we kept stumbling across is every year, like either of us was reminding the other one to tell you to rate this talk. Now, we found a little improvement. We put it in the speaker notes. So please rate the talk. And speaking of, I realized, so this is my Android phone. You can, by just pressing here, you might see it.
Click
find
the void.
Those little icons. But it could be, at least me, I cannot rate this talk on my Android phone. So in case you want to rate this talk and cannot because you have an Android phone, and I don't know if it's on anyone, just send your rating here by asking a question, please. And then we'll
figure it out.
will be integrating it.
All right, so rate the talk. You will be hearing us say that a lot. And now we were letting you off for a little coffee break, and we will meet here. And we are officially opening the studio stage upstairs with the first talk over there. We'll have some more core team members and visitors, so you can choose. And we'll see you here later. Thank you.